Oh.
Welcome back, Roman.
Welcome back to a special all-star edition of Weird and Wonderful. My guy, Jose Alvarado.
He was all over Saturday.
He crushed
Friday.
One MVP, had 5 points in the final game, and I spent 5 minutes trying to figure out the exact format, and I couldn't get it. Pelicans pick up their season Thursday in Toronto. Weird. All-star game. Damian Lillard. Limitless range
This was
here.
nice.
Drew, what do you think about this take? Dame becomes an all-time great role player when he gets older because he can spread the floor out. He can just kind of.
Well, say he just stands at half court and makes them.
Well,
play
look, he is the type of player that could definitely go somewhere old as an older guy and help a team, just because he can shoot so well.
He goes 8 for 20 from 3 in the loss. Wonderful.
23.
Earlier in the game, 23 seems like a lot. LeBron, this is a good little play on Donovan
nice.
Mitchell. Donovan tried his hardest there to get in front of him, too. Then Tatum comes back and does it, too, and we tried to make some drama. It's like, oh, Tatum with the answer. I'm like, I don't know. LeBron ended up losing and hurting his finger. And finally, Tatum again. Oh, yeah, I forgot I put this in here.
What was
See, sorry. Good job, Ramsey. I forgot I put this in. This was my favorite play of the weekend.
That was an attempted alley-oop, not an attempted shot.
So, no, yeah, but it was like an actual piece of creativity that I hadn't seen before. The old, like...
I know,
also,
look at
John
John.
almost
It was
hurt himself
awkward.
there.
Oh,
I was
my
worried
God.
about that. John
Can you imagine that?
Well, yeah, John almost
Had
hurt
that
himself.
happen?
Great play. And then finally, we'll go to the dunk contest. Mac McClung, he told
I told
Shams
y'all.
that he had 2 dunks that no one had ever seen before. Fantastic job. Now, granted, Victor Oladipo did do that for the Frisky Magic, but still,
Are you
great
serious?
moment. Yeah.
Not
No,
quite.
that's like a 540.
That's what Victor Oladipo did. Hubs, can we pull the Victor Oladipo
Not in
dunk for
time.
the end of the
We
show?
can't.
No way.
No, for the end of the show.
No,
right
we can't.
now.
Give Max
No,
some
it'll
credit.
just make
That
you look
was-
bad.
It's trust me.
Also, by the way,
Max.
Dame's team
Only
won.
6'2".
You had Dame's
Dame's
team and LeBron's team losing, and they played
Oh, I
each other.
forgot. Giannis picked Dame. Good job, Dame, in the win. After 5 years as offensive coordinator for the Chiefs, Eric Bieniemy, now going to the Commanders. Bieniemy had several interviews for head coaching positions over his career, most recently with the Colts this year. But after being shut out, has made the lateral move to the Commanders coach. Are you surprised by this?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing that a person in his situation, which you would look at and say, this is the dream job. You've got a great quarterback. You've got an explosive offense. You've won 2 Super Bowls. You're in a position to keep winning for a long time. Would have to move from the team he's with to go to another team that has an unsettled quarterback situation, a real tentative coaching situation, in order to try to create opportunities for himself. The level of frustration that he must feel to leave what should be a wonderful scenario and go to such an uncertain place, it's got to be hard, really hard for him.
So, listen, this show, I think, behind Inside the NBA, maybe for most smiles per minute. We try to have fun. We try to laugh a lot. We literally employ a guy who goes by the clown, on YouTube, and Kevin Wildes. He's the funniest man in sports television. This is not one of those topics. And I understand there are some people in the audience that are far, far more bothered by accusations of race playing a factor in things than they are by actual racism. And that's pretty bothersome. But you can't get the job because Andy Reid, and everybody knows Andy Reid calls the plays. Well, that didn't hurt Matt Nagy.
Right.
That didn't hurt Doug Peterson. That didn't hurt Andy's last offensive coordinator in Philly. So what do offensive coordinators of Super Bowl teams do? Well, the Chiefs have been a contender for 5 years, so let's use that sample. 2018 Super Bowl, Patriots, Rams. Well, Zach Taylor went from that job to a head coaching job, and Josh McDaniel now has a coaching job. What about Kansas City, San Francisco? Well, that was Eric Bieniemy, and Mike McDaniel was the lead guy in San Francisco. He now has a head coaching job. Now, to be fair, Mike McDaniel's biracial. But I'm not sure people knew that until after he got the job, and he certainly, I don't think, dealt with the assumed, if we're being honest here, a lot of the problem is a lot of the white decision makers don't think the black guy interviewing for the job is quite smart enough to get the job. I don't know if Mike had to deal with that. Next Super Bowl is Kansas City, Tampa. Neither one of those guys, offensive coordinators, have had coaching jobs. They are Eric Bieniemy and Byron Leftwich. Eric just had to leave his job. Byron just got fired from his. The next one is Cincinnati and the Rams. Now, Callahan hasn't gotten a job yet, but it looked like he was very close this offseason. Kevin O'Connell, of course, does have a job. And then the Super Bowl again, we have Eric Bieniemy and Shane Steichen. Eric Bieniemy now has had to leave to go get a chance, and Shane Steichen, of course, has a job. And it's god-dog embarrassing, bro. And the very simple answer is a lot of even well-intentioned white people, deep down somewhere, whether they recognize it or not, don't think the black guy's quite sharp enough. You can coach my running backs. You can fire up my defense. You can do a lot of things. But offensive coordinator is kind of a thinking man's job, and we don't think Eric can do it. And it's amazing to me that he was a terrible interview. He kicked ass in that interview for the OC job, evidently, though. Got that immediately. So, listen, I consider Eric a friend, and this sucks, and so I'm a little biased here, but this is mortifying for the league. That all the offensive masterminds that go to the Super Bowl for 5 years get jobs, except for him who's been there 3 times and left which. It's mortifying.
Well, you just spelled it out. It's racism. There's nothing else to call it. All right? And here's the thing, and I've been saying this, on our radio show to African Americans. This last Super Bowl, we had 2 black quarterbacks starting for the first time ever. How many years, most of the overwhelming majority of the NFL's existence, blacks were told you're not smart enough to play quarterback. You can't play quarterback. So now we're being told you really can't coach. There's 4 black head coaches out of 32, including Mike McDaniel. And so I've been saying, look, whatever we're told we can't do, don't let that hinder you, because Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes are just one of many proofs that we can do it. But I'm going to say this, Nick, because a lot of people will equate it, coach, to the field. Well, which is roughly 70% African American in the NFL. This is the difference. On a playing field or on the court or in a ring, boxing ring, on a track, it's objective. Even though quarterback wasn't for a long time. But for the most part, it's objective. You put 2 guys on the field, and it's obvious who's better. And if you want to win, which your job is based on, you can't worry about the color. Black, white, green, yellow, red, whatever. I'm going with this guy because he's better. In corporate America and in corporate football, hiring in the front office, hiring head coaches, it's subjective. There's more people that can do it, and, coach, it's not obvious who's better, who's going to be better, who's more qualified. It's completely subjective, and that's where African Americans get stiffed. And that's why the resume, I know it's never been like you have to meet all these qualifications, but the resume is important because, they just hired Jeff Saturday last season, who was a broadcaster. Okay, so they keep, like you said, moving the goalposts. That's why the resume is important, because if it's not like some set criteria, then African Americans are going to keep getting the short end of the stick.
Well, the other fact is the decision makers don't exactly know what they're doing. So Eric Bieniemy interviewed 16 times for 15 teams. He interviewed with the Jets twice. And this is what Roger Sherman wrote. Only 3 of the 16 coaches picked over Bieniemy since 2019 have made the playoffs, while 7 have been fired. So you pass on Eric Bieniemy for somebody else, and then you end up firing that person. So I guess the question, we can kind of button it up here. There have been several lateral moves. Dusty looked it up. LaFleur was Rams OC to Titans OC to Packers head coach. Gase, which I don't think, not a great coach. Broncos OC to Bears OC to Dolphins head coach. Bruce Arians, Steelers OC, Colts OC to Cardinals head coach. Do you think this lateral move is actually going to work?
No, I hope it does, but no.
A head coach
but I know that on this during this Chiefs run, Mike Kafka is now a hot head coaching candidate. He reported to Bieniemy, then got hired out to be, I think, with the Giants as the offensive coordinator, and now he's getting head coaching interviews. And when the Chiefs kick ass next year, you know what a hot name's going to be? Matt Nagy. He failed in Chicago, got that experience, and it's just. The last thing I'll say is this. I do not think the majority of these, even necessarily any of them, are like, I'm not hiring him, he's a black guy. I don't think it's intentional knowing racism. I think it is ingrained, subconscious thoughts of, gosh, it's a lot of game planning, a lot of real hard analytics stuff. Something tells me he can't do it. And he gets passed over again and again and again. And it sucks, man.
We'll leave it there. Well said. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk about fixing the All-Star.
Spinning polar bear.
Fixing